Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week, and this is the show where I review all the comics I've read this week in one show. We go least favorite to best pick of the week and everything in between. And of course, at the end of the episode, we talk about the viewer's pick of the week for you to have a chance to be featured in the episode. But let's get started. I had 9 books this week, so pretty average amount of books for me. And number 9 was Robin's issue 2, a book I was super excited for because I love Batman, I love the Bat family, I love Robin. But this feels so new reader friendly, and I know that's usually not like a bad thing, but it really feels like it's directing to try to get new readers. But at the same time, I don't think new readers are reading this book. Like, I do think genuinely just Batman fans are reading this. I'm sure there's, everyone's tries out a new book in a different spot, but I didn't feel like this is Batman's webcomic, the webtoon book where it's like, okay, they're mostly trying to get new readers here. This didn't really feel like, oh, this is new reader friendly, you have to pick this up if you are a new reader. Or the YA books, like I think that's a good example of like, this is going to be a different audience than you normally get. And with this one, the dialogue feels a bit stiff. I feel like it's a little bit over-explaining. I don't think it really gets into the plot as much as it could and into the nitty-gritty. And even the artwork, I feel like, is just okay. So I've been a little disappointed with this one. Obviously, I'm going to see it through because I do love these characters, and I do think there's some shining moments with the characters and their interactions with each other. But because this is out of continuity, it also just feels like, okay, what are we doing with this story? So overall, I'm going to give that 2.5 stars, and that is number 9. Moving on to number 8, which is Hawkeye, Kate Bishop, issue 2. I'm sad to see this book so low. I love Kate Bishop. I was very excited to see her get a series again. And I just feel like this book's going through the motions. It's just a random private eye investigation of, okay, we need to find this kid. Her sister kind of helps out, but there's no really big character moments that shine here where I feel like previous Kate Bishop series have done better. Obviously we look at Kelly Thompson's run, and I think it did the investigation balance with the character work a little bit stronger than it does here. And even the artwork I feel like is a little choppy at times. So I just feel like it's forgettable, which is sad because I feel like this character is so prominent and has so much energy, and it's just not really being brought here. There's so many moments that they could really pinpoint, like her relationship with her sister, where it's just kind of there. Her relationship with America and Cassie, and it just kind of referenced, but you don't really get to see those big moments. So overall, I'm giving that 3 stars, and that is number 8. Moving on to number 7, sad to see this lower as well. This is, I think, like my pick of the week when it came out. Catwoman Lonely City, issue 2. And these magazine things are going to kill me because I don't know where to put them. But anyways, this issue, we get to see things, I don't want to say slow down, but I feel like it didn't focus on Selena as much. It really was about building this world and not being so lonely, because there's a lot of characters that are introduced here. But, I like seeing Poison Ivy, what she's been up to, what the Riddler's been up to, so we get to see those moments. But because this is a longer issue, it kind of felt long, where in the first issue I was like, oh, I want more. This is really cool. This one, I'm like, okay, let's get to the point a little bit quicker. So I just thought this one was okay, but the artwork was really good, and I love the style of the book. Like, I really like, just seeing different versions of these characters, different costumes. I like seeing a plus size Poison Ivy. So, like, I enjoyed seeing those aspects, and I like seeing her little moments with these characters, but I don't think it matched up to what issue 1 delivered for me. So, overall, giving that 3 stars, and that is number 7. Moving on to number 6, which is Miss Marvel, issue 1, a book that's been slightly delayed, but I was very excited for because it's Kamala, and it's been a while since we've gotten a Kamala book. And this one, it was just okay. And I know I've been saying that a lot for these books, but it was just okay. The artwork, I love. It's the same artist who's been doing Runaways for a while, so the facial expressions are really good. There's some action sequences that I thought that could have been a little stronger, but, I love the facial expressions here, and it mostly relied on facial expressions. There's honestly not that much superhero action in this issue. But I like the concept. We get to see, the multiverse kind of explored here, or the idea of the multiverse. We expand on Kamala's family a bit. And then in the end, it's like this classic Bollywood story where it's actually Jersey City's kind of become this movie. And I'm like, oh, that's fun. I enjoyed that. I just thought it was a fun issue, but the character beats I think could have hit a little stronger here. There's no big movement in this issue for Kamala's character or anything that was memorable potential besides the ending. So I'm like, oh, that could be really cool to play with visually in the next issue, and hopefully it impacts more of Kamala's supporting cast or Kamala herself in future issues. And if you're looking for more superhero action, it doesn't really do much of that in this issue. So overall, giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 6. Moving on to number 5, which is Serial issue 9. I believe next issue is the last, and this is just one big action piece where we get to see Zoe versus our serial killer, and there's definitely a lot of intense moments. There's some good conversations between the two. We do end on a cliffhanger. It's just like, oh, wait, like, that was cool. It's kind of in the middle of the battle, but at the same time, like, oh, wait, why did we cut there? Like, I, wanted to see more. I didn't feel like the story was finished, which I know is the point, but it didn't also just feel like a cliffhanger either. So I don't know. It kind of ended abruptly, I would say, but the artwork was really good here. There's some good action, some good almost kills, and some good conversations, which is exactly what you want from Serial. I think this is the penultimate issue. I think next issue is the last. I'm not sure. They don't really advertise it here. So overall, I'm going to give that 3.5 stars. I've had a fun time with Serial. It's not my favorite Terry Moore series, but it's still a fun ride. Moving on to number 4, which is Refrigerator Full of Heads, issue 3. This is such an underrated book. I would say volume 1 was so good. Some of my favorite slasher horror things going on in comics was Basket Full of Heads. And then we get to see this really interesting angle of a sequel where we get new characters involved. They're dealing with the heads and their police officers. But we also get to see June. And she's not the point of view character, but it's a very Scream regard where, she's going to end up being the POV character by the end. And so I like seeing June, and I like just the expanding of this universe. We get to see other artifacts that play a part with the axe. So I just like seeing the mythos kind of building here, and there's some really, really cool action pieces, especially the opener where the head's just kind of like rolling down a hill, and we get to see some really interesting, sarcastic commentary from it. So it's just a really cool horror book. And if you're a slasher fan, it's a love letter to slashers, and it's a really good book, and I enjoyed this issue. So I'm going to give that 3.5 stars, and that is number 4. Moving on to number 3, The Amazing Spider-Man issue 2. Issue 82. And this issue fully focuses on Peter and MJ, which is something I've been waiting for with The Amazing Spider-Man. I haven't been loving the Ben stories, honestly, and I've been really looking forward to this one, because finally Peter's awake. We're getting to see him do stuff. I did expect Mary Jane and Peter to work together a little bit more. I feel like the exciting things don't really happen until the end. There's a little bit too much build up. But the artwork, probably the best art I've seen in Spider-Man in a really long time. I loved how haunting it was. It was so good. I loved the artwork for this book. And the story was fun. We get to see Mary Jane save the day, and I like that as Peter not being able to save the day. Literally, his body's kind of failing on him, and he's still trying to heal, and it's just, a lesson for him to say, okay, you do need to rest a little bit. You still need to heal here. The villains were just okay. I didn't, love the overall plot of what was going on, but I like seeing how it challenged Peter, how it challenged MJ, and again, the visuals were just so amazing for how haunting the issue was. So overall, giving that 3.5 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is Radiant Black, issue 11. And, last issue we had a big moment of Nathan coming back, and it piggybacks right off of that. I really think there's some good emotions in this issue where we get to see, Nathan kind of dealing with him not being Radiant Black, and then also Marshall, being gone for 6 weeks and how that affects his life, how it affects his job, the people around him. And then, he goes off and hangs out with the pink Radiant Black character where, we haven't really seen them interact as much. So it's cool just to see a new relationship form with them and him kind of try to forget what happened, and not forget, but, take a little break from his actual life and do some Radiant Black stuff, and then come back to what's been going on with Nathan and what their relationship's like after all this has happened. And then, of course, we get a huge cliffhanger with Nathan seeing this creature of, the Radiant Black mythos, and I'm like, oh, that was such a cool cliffhanger, and it just felt like a cool end of an episode, and you kind of, see the special effects in that panel, which was really cool. So yeah, I thought it was overall a solid issue. It was a good follow-up to a huge issue from issue 10. So giving that 4 stars, and that is number 2. Moving on to number 1, which is, of course, Nightwing issue 87. This is just such a cool book. So this is formatted differently, where we get to see a continuous scene throughout every page. So we get to see Bloodhaven. We really get to see what the city's like and the faces that make this city. And the plot is pretty simple. The dog gets the dog gets kidnapped, and Barbara and Dick Grayson try to save the dog, and also there's a hit not just on Nightwing, but on Dick Grayson instead. So there's some interesting things and gears being moved here, but relatively, it's a simple story, great action, obviously such revolutionary art style here, and it was just really cool to see this new format for this issue, and this kind of daring format, and it was a fun issue. I thought it was a really solid story, and I love seeing Barbara and Dick Grayson obviously interact, and yeah, it was a really solid issue. So I'm going to give that 4 stars, and that is my pick of the week. So, of course, in the comments below, let me know your pick of the week, because next week it could be featured on the episode for the viewer's pick of the week. For this week, the viewer's pick of the week was Robin and Batman issue 2, and here are some comments about that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.